Hello beautiful people, my name's Diana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of May. And I honestly had an amazing reading month. I found some new favorite books and just like overall really enjoyed all the books I read. So before we get into talking about books, usually I start my wrap-ups with talking about what I crocheted in the month of May. So let me show you guys what I crocheted this month. So the first thing I crocheted in May was this book bag that I have been dying to make. I found it on Pinterest and I found the video on Facebook on how to make it, and it is just adorable. It is so cute and it can fit all my books, and I just love it when I'm like going to the library or going somewhere to read. I take it with me and I love it. I love how it turned out. I love sunflowers, so it was just like perfect and I love it. Okay, and then I started probably what is going to be my biggest crochet project, and it's nowhere near done yet, but it is the start of my first blanket. So this is what I got so far. I absolutely love how it's turning out. I've learned so many different stitches, like this flower stitch and this rainbowy one. And I just love the center panels and everything. And I'm really excited to keep adding to it because it still needs like, I think 8 or more panels. So I'm really excited. It reminds me of summer with all the flowers, and I'm a big flower person and I love colorful stuff, so I'm really excited how it's going to turn out. Alright, now let's talk about the books that I read in May. I read quite a few books, as you guys can tell. And honestly, I'm so excited to talk about them and tell you guys what I rated them and how I felt about them. So I'm just gonna go top down. It's just easier that way. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This was my second Kristen Hanna book. I read The Nightingale last month, loved it, 5-star. This one was a 4-star for me. I really enjoyed it, and going into it, I definitely thought it was going to be more about war because The Nightingale was definitely like a war story, so that's kind of what I was expecting this one to be, and it wasn't. So I was honestly pleasantly surprised because it was so different than what I was expecting. This one follows Lenny, who is super young, and her dad is a war veteran, and he gets home and he kind of just is like going crazy, and he decides that he wants to up and move him, his wife Cora, and their daughter Lenny to Alaska because one of his friends from war left some land there. So they get there and they realize it's going to be a lot harder to survive there than they think, and it's kind of all about their survival journey and how like the harsh Alaska terrain is one thing that you have to be worried about, but then people is a whole other. So it's kind of about Lenny's whole journey living in Alaska and going through all this, and there's like 3 parts in this book and it kind of jumps years, which I thought was very interesting. We get a lot of Lenny's life in this book, and it was just a beautiful story. Why I rated it 4-star was because I wish the ending we got a little bit more closure. I felt like something big happens in this book, and I felt like the ending just kind of ended abruptly, where we didn't get too many answers about the ending and how Lenny is doing and all of that stuff. So that is why I rated it 4-star. But other than that, I loved it. I loved how scenic this book was. I literally felt like I was in Alaska while I was reading it. So I loved that aspect of the book. I just wish the beginning was maybe a little bit shorter and the ending just had a little bit more detail in it, but totally recommend. Okay, next is Wildfire, which is the second book in the Maple Hills series. The first one is Icebreaker. I rated this one a 4.25 star. I honestly loved it. It got me right in the summer mood. This one follows Aurora, who is our female main character, and she has a one-night stand with this guy Russ while they're still in college, and you know, she doesn't really think much about it. She just thinks it's kind of done. They're never gonna see each other after that, and they end up working at the same summer camp together. And obviously the rules for the camp are you cannot be with any other of the camp counselors, stuff like that. So it's them kind of like awkwardly talking, and obviously feelings start getting shared more, and it's just basically them navigating their life with this camp life and their relationship and trying to keep it quiet and all this. And I liked this one more than Icebreaker because they both have really bad daddy issues and they kind of help heal each other, and I love that in a relationship when a couple can really like heal each other and talk about things. And their communication was honestly great in this book. I felt like there was a couple like secrets that especially Russ didn't want Aurora to know, but I felt like other than that they really were good about like talking about things and sharing stuff that was similar in their families, especially towards the end once they kind of knew each other's family issues. Then they were really good at communicating, and I just love that they were able to like heal each other during the summer and the camp, and like it was just the perfect vibes because like I said, it takes place at a summer camp, and with the weather getting warmer it was like perfect. So I rated this 4.25, totally recommend. I felt like their relationship was a lot less physical than the one in Icebreaker too, and I like that more. I don't like when a relationship purely feels physical because I need more. I need emotion, I need depth to the relationship, and they definitely had a little bit more of that in here. So that was Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Okay, next I continued my Magnolia Parks journey with reading Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home. I fully annotated it. I love her writing. I did not love this book as much, and I'm really sad about it because I wanted to love it. I loved Daisy Hates, so I was really excited to just jump into this one right away. I was a little bit disappointed by it. I rated this one, I think, a 3.75. I think why it has that rating is nothing to do with the writing or anything. It is just purely Magnolia and BJ's relationship was driving me crazy in this book. They were so petty, and I was like, you guys are adults, stop acting like children. And I get it, that's like the whole point of the book, is that they are kind of like fighting for this relationship and there's just a lot of toxicity, and it was definitely showing in this book. And I hate the whole sleeping with other people to make someone else jealous trope. And you get a lot of that in here. And part of me just feels like it is like cheating kind of, even though they're not together. They still love each other and they just end up using other people to make the other person feel bad. And I couldn't get into it as much. And BJ was driving me crazy, and I just wanted him to step up and be a man and finally admit that he loved her. And he was not doing that, and it was driving me crazy. But why I did give it the 3.75 star is the writing is beautiful, the quotes are beautiful. I just kept thinking to myself, if they really love each other as much as they say they do in this book, would they really hurt each other this much? The ending was crazy. It made me want to immediately jump into the next books. Her endings are always crazy, and I love that about it. But yeah, let's read some quotes from here. I'm just gonna flip randomly until I get to a tab. It's never nice to hear what anyone thinks of you if the opinion is unsavory. But when that opinion comes from the person you love most in the world, it pierces right through the center of you, poisons you a bit, makes you believe the words they're saying are true. Words are powerful. Like, that is just beautiful. I love the poeticness of her writing. Julian, you guys, Julian is also another reason why this book got rated as high as it did. I love that man. And I really would not be sad at all if Magnolia ended up with Julian instead of BJ. I said it. And I truly believe it. I'm still going to continue the series. I'm still going to absolutely probably eat up the other two books. I'm just hoping the other ones are a little bit less toxic, because this was just literally like 500 pages of toxicity. Now we're kind of getting on to some of the series that I read. So I read the Song of Silver Flame Like Night, and then the next one is Dark Star Burning, Ash Falls White. Literally the two longest titles ever. This series, I rated both of them 3-star. I really think that the stories were beautiful, but I was having such a hard time following what was going on. Both of the stories follow heavy, like, Chinese folklore, and as someone who knew absolutely nothing about that going into these books, I definitely struggled a little bit. Like, because the first one I read in my reading vlog, and I literally listened to like the first hour and a half in audio, and I remember like pausing it and like literally not knowing a single thing that was happening. So then I restarted it and I started to understand it a little bit more. So yeah, I struggled. So for that reason, I rated it a 3-star. If I probably went back and reread them now, I would probably enjoy them more because I understand it a little bit more, but it was just a lot, and for that reason I found myself zoning out quite a bit and just constantly confused and like knowing the overall story, but then the little things were lost on me, and I think if I understood all the little things it would have gotten such a higher rating. So the ratings have nothing really to do with the books, it's more just a me problem. So honestly, instead of me trying to explain to you what the first book is about, I'm literally just gonna read some of the description on the inside, so if any of you guys are interested in it, you kind of can figure out what it's about. So, once Lan had a different name. Now she goes by the one the Elentian colonizers gave her when they invaded her kingdom, killed her mother, and outlawed her people's magic. She spends her nights as a song girl in Hakgong, a city transformed by the conquerors, and her days scavenging for what she can find in the past. Anything to understand the strange mark burned into her arm by her mother in the last act before she died. The mark is mysterious, an untranslated hidden character, and no one but Lan can see it, until the night a boy appears at her tea house and saves her life. Zen is a practitioner, one of the fabled magicians of the Last Kingdom. Their magic was rumored to have been drawn from the demons they communed with, magic believed to be long lost. Now it must be hidden from the Atlanteans at all costs. When Zen comes across Lan, he recognizes what she is, a practitioner with powerful ability hidden in the mark on her arm. He's never seen anything like it, but he knows that there are answers. They lie deep in the pine forests and misty mountains of the Last Kingdom. With the Order of Practicing Masters plan to overthrow the Atlantean regimen. Both Lan and Zen have secrets buried deep within, secrets they must hide from others, and secrets that they themselves have yet to discover. Fate has connected them, but their destiny remains unwritten. Both hold the power to liberate their land, and both hold the power to destroy the world. Now the battle for the Last Kingdom begins. That was a mouthful, but you guys can kind of see even that was probably pretty confusing, maybe. I don't know. Like, I read the book, so obviously I follow it along a little bit more, but let me just say that the second book doesn't even necessarily have a happy ending. It doesn't really have a happy ending. And I still don't really know how I feel about that. I liked the romance in these books. They are young adults, so like you don't get anything crazy, but I did love Zen and Lan's characters so much, and their whole journey was really interesting to follow, but that the second book didn't really end in a happy ending made me really sad. So that's what I'll say on these. Super interesting if you want to learn about Chinese folklore. I thought it was so beautiful reading about it, but definitely like plan to really focus when you're starting the book because a lot gets thrown at you and it is a little bit confusing. Okay, now we're going to be talking about my guilty pleasure series that I have restarted, and in May I started with Crush, which I have never read Twilight. I've never read the books. I've never even watched the movies, so a lot of the reviews on this book say it's a knockoff Twilight. So since I've never read Twilight, I can't really confirm or deny that for you guys, but it's definitely like my guilty pleasure series. There's vampires, there's witches, there's werewolves, there's dragons, all of that, and I just love it. I love listening to them while I'm working. They're fantasy series, but I would say it's like such an easy fantasy series to listen to. The world building is pretty much non-existent. It's super easy to listen to, and I love the characters so much. So this one follows Grace, who is our female main character, and her parents died in a car crash, so she moves to Alaska where her uncle owns this school, and you know, things are kind of weird when she gets there. People are looking at her weird, and that's because it is a school for magical people and they all think that she is a human, which she also thinks she is a human. So it kind of follows her journey, kind of discovering who she is, and there's definitely some romance in here, and I love it. Like I said, it's my guilty pleasure series, and all the books are free on Audible if you have an Audible subscription, so that is also why I'm revisiting the series. I unfortunately bought the first 3 like 2 years ago, and I listened to the first 3, but the rest of the series is on Audible, so I am rereading it and completely finishing the series now. But I rated this one a 4-star, loved it. I could re-listen to them forever. It's a big comfort read for me. So that's Crave. And then after that one, I jumped into Crush, which I love. I love this book. We're introduced to a new character in this one, which I'm not going to say who because it'll spoil the first book a lot, but we're introduced to a new character and I'm obsessed with him. I'm obsessed with the whole plot of this book. It is so funny, and the tension between our female main character and the male main character in this book is just amazing. And I love these stories, and this one is a 4.25 star because I love it. I love the whole trope we got going on. I don't want to spoil anything, but I enjoyed this book, and I listened to it in literally like 3 days, and it's a big book, so that's all you guys gotta know. Alright, then I read my favorite book of the month, Tomorrow. This book has such a special place in my heart. I did a reading vlog for it over on my channel. It is my May reading vlog part 1 if you guys are interested in watching me read this book. This is honestly a book I firmly believe you should go in completely blind to it, because that is what I did and I absolutely loved it. I think a lot of people are hesitant to start this one because they know it deals with video games, which it does, but it is so much more than that. It is literally just a story about relationships and friendships and connections and kind of life and all the ups and downs you go through and how they all bring you back to the people that you kind of met at the beginning and shaped you to who you are. And I loved this book so much. 5 stars, easily a 5-star, and I honestly want to re-listen to it soon. It's funny too because if you watch my reading vlog, you'll see me kind of the first like maybe 50% of the book I just kept saying like, I don't know if anything is gonna happen. I think it's just kind of gonna be like a story about like these friendships and life and stuff. And then stuff happens and the story is just such an amazing story. It's one of those books I feel like everyone should read. I understand the hype now. I'm so glad I read it because I was putting it off, and I don't really know why once I read it because it was amazing. One of my favorite books of the year, easily, of my life, honestly, and yeah, totally recommend Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Then I read Shifted by Danielle Cancel. I am on her street team, and this book is awesome. She sprayed the edges, and this sticker, by the way, can we please talk about this? I'm obsessed. And she has such a pretty undercover. Her books are all amazing. So she is the author of the Twisted Fate series, which I read the first 2 books, and this is kind of a whole nother side series from that. And this follows 2 of the characters we met in the Twisted Fate series, but it's kind of a story about how they met. So this one goes even more farther back in time. It's about Owen and Sahara, I think that's how you say her name, Sarah? I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. But this one basically follows them meeting, and it has a very like kind of like carnival vibe. And I loved it. Her writing has improved so much from her first 2 books to this book. Like, I literally was so engrossed in this book and I finished it so fast, and I love Sarah's character so much, and I'm very excited for the second one in this series. And I love that, like, the quote is, you don't have to be a monster just because they see you as one, because that's definitely something that Owen, which is our male main character in this book, struggles with, and it definitely has a fantasy vibe. There's quite a bit of spice in this one. I'm super curious where the next one is gonna go with the ending we got in this one, and I'm curious to kind of see how it ties into the Twisted Fate series and how they meet the characters in that book. So I totally recommend her books. Obviously start with the Twisted Fate series before you start this one, or honestly you could start with this one because this one does take place before those, but if you kind of want to meet Owen and Sarah's characters like before this, that's the order that she wrote them in, so that's how I would recommend doing it. But I really liked this one. I rated it a 4-star, and I'm very excited to see what she releases next. Alright, then the next 5 books I read was the complete Heartstopper series. I'm so obsessed with how they all look together. I'm kind of going to talk about this series as one because honestly they all kind of gelled together because I read them back to back. So basically this whole series follows Charlie and Nick, and I would definitely say it's kind of like a coming of age story. It's them kind of finding their identities and, you know, coming to terms with that, and it's their love story, and I think they are the 2 most perfect male main characters ever. I love them so much. I love their relationship. I think this series covers so many topics that are so important, especially for, you know, teenagers who are kind of going through that hard part in their life, trying to find themselves. This book covers all of those hard topics and I loved it. I feel like more books need to talk about stuff like that because it is something that a lot of people go through, and this author is definitely not afraid to talk about the hard stuff, and I think these books would be so important for probably like the high school age when you're just going through all this hard things and trying to cope with it, and I feel like these books would make you feel not as alone, so I would totally recommend them for like the high school age. And they are just so cute. I love all the characters so much. I need to watch the show immediately. My favorite book of the series was Volume 4, which this one talks a lot about Charlie and his eating disorder and kind of Nick trying to help him with that and them just trying to navigate the relationship and just all the drama that comes with high school and all of that. And I loved this book. I think it made their relationship so much stronger, and how much Nick looks out for Charlie is just, it warms my heart. I love them so much. I can't wait to watch the show because they seriously are like my comfort characters, and I could definitely see myself rereading this series very soon because I literally flew through it. Like, I read all the books in, well, I read each book in one day, so like each book took me like, I don't know, just a few hours to get through. Totally recommend it. Definitely covers some hard topics, so look up trigger warnings. Alright, you guys, that is all the books that I read in May. I had such an amazing reading month. It was definitely my Heartstopper era month. It was me finding Tomorrow, which I love, and then me returning to my Guilty Pleasure series, which is Crave, which I'm planning hopefully to finish in June. I don't know. I have a very ambitious TBR for June. But thank you guys so much for all the support you have shown me. You seriously make me so happy. You're making my dreams come true with starting this YouTube channel and everything. So if you could like this video and maybe think about subscribing to my channel, I would really appreciate it, and I will be back next Friday with another video. Bye!